Oh, Shiva?
April.
Did I pronounce it correctly? Shiva?
Yes, Shiva. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Great. I'll give a couple moments to see if anyone else will join us. But other than that, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you. How are you doing?
Oh, really well. Just kind of relaxed today. I'm still like in my pajamas, really. Instead,
It's the same for us, working from home.
yeah, I'm in a total relaxed mode. I was just on vacation, so I'm like coming out of vacation. So
Yeah.
like doing this.
Yeah. So we're recording again.
So looking at it, this is more of a conversation because I love talking about open space. I do have a place for us to take notes on as well. And I'm happy to share my screen if you want to, but I
Yes,
just
please.
like.
I would love to hear you.
So, oh, it's you have to enable it or pass me host as well.
Yes. I'm like, I don't know, the sharing thing. Sometimes I'll
If you go under participants, you can pass host.
yeah. I've made you the host now.
Okay.
You can share the screen now.
Yeah, I'm doing that now.
Yep, I can see your screen.
So as we're talking about the open space mindset, I wanted to share a little bit like, hey, what do you think when you think of the open space mindset? I know I think of a lot of different things. What do you think of, Shiva?
Open space.
Hello.
We have one more participant here. Hi, Ranjit.
Yes. Ranjit, hi.
Hi. Hey, what? Sorry, it's my
Oh, you're
kids
fine.
changed my. I'll just come back. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
No, you're fine. You can say mute yourself. I'll just, because the chat's not persistent, I'll keep adding a link. This is where, so we can collaborate today.
Ranjit, we can see
And
you.
it's Siva Kant? Siva Kant? Did I pronounce that correctly? Hi.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Shivkant, hi.
Siva Kant? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I believe in pronouncing people's name correctly, so please correct me if I don't. Normally, I'm pretty good because it's pretty much phonetically, but that's not always the case. So, and even the longest names I can normally pronounce if it's phonetically. Otherwise, I need a little bit of help. So we're talking about the open space mindset, and I'm April Jefferson. I'm someone who loves open space. I love participating in open space, organizing open space, facilitating open space, and living open space. So what I've come to learn is that open space is a mindset. It's not simply a framework on how one gathers. Although oftentimes people see it as such. they're like, oh yeah, this is a pretty cool microstructure to organize, and it is. It's a awesome way to organize and to share ideas and to learn and collaborate. But there's something more around open space. There's something that's magical about open space when you take it to heart and when you walk fully in the principles and the roles and elements of open space. So that's what I've come here today to offer up a conversation so we can talk about that. For the people who have just joined, I have a chat where we can add, all add ideas. So it doesn't have to be just myself. It's not persistent, so I'll have to just keep posting it in here if you would like to collaborate on thoughts. I will be writing a book about open space, just to let you know, mindset as well, which maybe some of this conversation will be included in it. So does before, I don't want it to just be me. When you all think of open space mindset, could anyone maybe want to just share what comes to mind for you?
Learning mindset.
Learning
Open
mindset.
mindset, learning mindset.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the growth mindset, you know, from the book Mindset,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just wondering, open mindset has to do more with being open to ideas, which is also in the realm of innovation, and empathy is probably one area that I would think in the open
Mm-hmm.
mindset that would come across.
Okay.
I'd say there's no boundary for you know for what I'd expect to learn from it. Uh, it can range from a minimal to the maximum potential of whatever the topic offers.
Mm-hmm. And please add your own thoughts to here. I can't remember everything everyone said, and I'm someone who does a terrible job of talking and writing at the same time. So I'll need your help to capture these thoughts. Well, it wasn't covered in the opening, but do people know about the principles of open space here? So there are 5 principles of open space. Whoever comes are the right people. Sheba heard me say that because we were like, let's get started, right? Like, if it's just myself, it would have been okay. If no one else came, it would have been okay. Whoever comes are the right people. That's the first principle in open space. And if you're wondering, like, who kind of started it all, his name is Harrison Owen, and you can read about it. He offers it all free, like the information about open space from him doing hundreds of these, maybe thousands by now. I have no idea. He's kind of the grandfather of open space, is Harrison Owen. But the first principle is whoever's there are the right people. And then we have whatever happens is the only thing that could happen. And for those who are joining, I'm gonna just share, or if you all see it too, is copy and paste it there as well when people join so they can jump on the board. Whatever happens is the only thing that could happen. What do you think that means?
That means whatever So it's difficult to put in words. I kind of get what it means, that there is no things that we could have done differently. I think whatever we're doing here is the right thing to do.
Yeah, exactly. Is that the way I love what I say often is that we can control two things. One is our own behavior. I can't control yours. I can control my own behaviors. So that's my actions and how they manifest, and I can control what I think, right, about it. Whatever happens is the only thing that could happen. When I didn't touch fully on whoever's there are the right people. Does anyone else understand like how that manifests?
Manifest as in?
Yeah, like whoever's there are the right people. What does that look like?
It's like there are no specially invited participants. Whoever comes in, whoever feels that this is a discussion they want to be a part of, they would just join in.
Yeah, and maybe like, an Indian wedding, you invite a lot of people, whoever shows, right? Um, and you're okay with that. And if it's just you, then you're the right person there, and maybe it's for you to be reflective and meditative. And that when you have that in your mindset in all spaces, it's a sort of freedom to think that there's no expectation. Again, it goes to, hey, I'm not expecting, if Shiva came, that's okay. I'm not, if Shiva doesn't come, it's also okay. I'm not looking, it's just that the people here I'm going to invest in, and they are who matters. They're the people that who made a decision, who found it was the right time, not because they valued it more. It was they were okay. Other people who even said, I was going to come, but they didn't. Even on for this coach camp, I believe DT said like maybe there was 180 registered and we got 150 today. That's okay. Those are the people who are here are the right people to show up. There's also, we have the who, what. We also have a wherever it happens is the right place. Meaning that people could bemoan, we didn't get to be in person, but this was virtual. It's okay. Maybe a lot of times when you see in open spaces is that, hey, we may walk and have a conversation. That's okay too. Let's not be concerned so much of the place. It just happened here, and be okay. Then there's also when it starts, it's the right time. So being okay that if we began this conversation like 5 minutes after versus on the dot, that's okay. And if we end this conversation early, that's okay too, because when it's over, it's over. That's another principle of open space. And then there's one law, the law of personal mobility is if you're not adding value or receiving value, move to some place you can. So where does the mindset play in all of that? That's the biggest thing. For me, the mindset plays in that is that when you do that fully and not simply say as a part of the structure, when you do it as a part of your life, how freeing it can be. And that's what I've learned. Like I walk through life as a coach, and all different things. And understanding is that people are personally responsible for their own change and transformation. They have to own it. So if I look at that, for me, when I'm coaching, from the coaching perspective, when I'm coaching others, is that they own their transformation. So from the very start, with every interaction, for every mindset, I'm looking at, I am working myself out of a job. I'm going to treat it as such. They will know that. And all my actions will be as if for them to own it and not for me to be a part of it. And how can that, in every interaction, within every moment, can I make that happen and that be true? Where this is totally theirs, where I'm not forcing anything upon them. I offer, like I offered this space, and who showed was the right people, and they may or may not accept the invitation and move around it. When change and learning can happen, right? It's a beautiful thing. When I believe that is more likely to happen, when that it's more safety for it to happen when we allow people to own it. And that's when we're open to allow things to happen in new ways. So when I look at unlocking human potential, the saying there's not one formula. There's many ways. And that's why I know, like in the chat earlier, to say when someone's saying like, "Oh yeah, this form of agile," like there's not one thing. We all make adaptations because we learn, we adapt based upon the experiences that we have from the people that are engaged, and hopefully, most importantly, with feedback, right? So, in describing that, a lot of those things I think people already know. So, what do you experience around an open space mindset? How does that manifest to you? What do you do when you feel that you're walking in one of those principles?
So thanks, April. Thanks for those principles. That it really gives a good idea. Um, I hear a lot of optimism when you put all this together, right? And that we're not really looking for an ideal best case scenario. That too, right? And there's no comparisons coming up when I see it all together. Uh, and probably that kind of underlines the importance of self-organizing teams that we call in scrums also, right? So that's there. But one thing I just wanted a little bit clarity, if you could help out, is that would that lead, if everybody's in that kind of accepting mode, would that lead to some kind of a passive nature in the team? Like a lack of aggression towards a goal, or just because everything is okay kind of way, right? If you know what I mean, it's more on like, I'm fine with whatever is there and I have to make best with whatever it is, right? I'm okay if it starts a little late. uh, so would that in any way dilute the goal towards the aggression towards the goal? Just question that.
Well, to me, I see it that it invites experimentation. When it's saying like, hey, we tried this thing, it failed, now let's have a conversation about it. That's the only thing that could happen in this moment. That maybe really failed, it really bombed. So what else can we do? It's a conversation to pivot. Instead of it being something else that can spur anxiety, which is there's not safety around it. Like when you create safety to learn, I'll say safety to learn over safety to fail. To me, failure is when you learn nothing from it, right? When you create that safety to learn, um, then it opens the door for more conversation. When you and of course, it doesn't mean that you don't have agreements on how you engage. There's safety to say to revisit, where it's like, hey, this isn't whenever it happens, it's the right time, right? It starts when it starts. It doesn't mean that, hey, if we have a stand-up scheduled, um, we don't, everyone just kind of wanders in. If it's not, that may not be valuable. When is it valuable for us to do it? It may look differently. Remember, is that if you're constantly throughout the day, it may not look like a scheduled time. What's the conversations that you're happening? I think it's one of those things that I know we hate to say that it depends. It will manifest differently. I don't think it will create a lackadaisical nature with one. I think it creates more empowered people and more safety to have critical conversations and to build trust. There are teams who use open space as a framework on how they organize. I don't know if you've heard of fast agile. It's like the fluid agile scaling technology. They use open space to manage their work. So every day they're kind of doing that, saying, okay, what do we want to do? How do we want to invest their time to do different things? So people do organize around open space, even with their teams. A friend of mine, he took all his learnings from, coaching teams and also being a lover of open space to discover that. So yeah, I definitely think it can work. And open space technology can work with inside frameworks that if teams are very passionate around as well. Did I answer your question? I don't know if I did.
Sure, April. Thanks for that.
Yeah, so this is very interesting, like open space mindset. I think if we try and follow this in our day-to-day work, uh, it'll be relieving. It'll be very relieving because, then there would not be as much regrets. There could have been things that could have been done differently. And as you've mentioned, it is more about self-organized and empowered teams. So assume self-intent and give your best and let others do the same. And then, whatever happens is the best that could have happened.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah, I totally agree with you. Like open space mindset, I think it creates the psychological safety that we've been talking about for the last 3 or 4 years in our community, because it hasn't been fully attainable. It's just been something that people talk about, right? But it's not really there. And it's been hearing more of especially recently, more about like the myth of psychological safety. And that for certain people, especially, whether culturally or not, like it may not exist. How can we truly invite in psychological safety? I always say that to me, psychological safety is exactly the same about empowered teams. We can't say you are now empowered. That is something that we test, right? We test that is there safety. We test that our empowerment, by one's actions. When someone tries it out, then they know, is it safety to truly be empowered, and it slowly grows. It's not something that just happens magically. It's not a magic wand. And the same thing with to walk in this type of mindset. There's no magic wand with it. People have to test it out. And for me, I found freedom in it, in all different, in all my actions, freedom in how I behave when I started looking at, hey, mobility, personal mobility, is that when I have all these meetings, for example, oh, you know what? I may not need to go all of these. It may be okay to say, how can I add value here? What do you need me to do to understand if I really need to go to make decisions, right? And it was so freeing to say, oh, you know, I'm opting out. And it may just start with as simple as that, to focus on one principle or on the law that that you know that governs like the open space mindset.
Yeah, and I like this one. I guess, well, all are great, but this one especially, if you're not adding value or not gaining value, just move on. I try to follow that for all the meetings that I have to attend. Like, either if I'm not participating or I'm not getting anything, I'm just a silent observer. Am I at the right place? Could I have used my time with something else? So I try and ask.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like I should put them all here for you all so you have it.
Yes, that'll be great. Then this, and while you're adding, I hope it's okay to have some discussions.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, in your experience, like if we try and do this in your day-to-day life, what is the acceptance level of teams? Because I always felt self-organizing teams and empowered teams is not something that comes easily. You know, a lot of teams take some time to get there. So has it been difficult, easy with the teams?
So for me, I found that they embrace it because a lot of times for when I'm engaging with others, it is not their first rodeo. For example, with Agile, and other times where it is, it's like refreshing, like, oh, I find that when you demonstrate it, that people their journey to self-empowerment is a lot sooner as a team. When you basically they find permission in you by you showing up that way to be fully free. Um,
So I have two scenarios that I usually run into. One, as I work with a team where they're on an average 2 to 3 years of experienced, and they usually don't tend to speak up much. So,
mhm.
so assuming that we through an open space. So how do we get them to talking? I find that always a challenging part. And yeah, the second scenario is where there is another team which always get into conflicts. The moment you open up the space, it opens a Pandora's box.
Mm.
Always conflicting. So how do we deal with these conflicting situations?
So there's the art to holding space. And one of the things that as coaches we understand, we hold multiple roles. We're a facilitator, we're a coach, we're a consultant. you know, we're doing multiple different things. So we have to ask ourselves is that how do we hold space for others? There's different techniques that I've used to work with different personalities. And one is to understand that we all think differently. I'm someone that I think out loud which oftentimes, like right now, like I can't type and write at the same time. That's one way I do. Other people, they're amazing at it and they're phenomenal. And other people, they sit alone with their thoughts to do that. But to add space for that diversity in thinking, we have things like silent brainstorming, right? With on sticky notes, and have it. There's one technique like I've used, like this is Jamboard for people who are joining. It's kind of the same as if you were in a physical space and had sticky notes and markers where people will write thoughts down and you don't know who did what, right? Normally I am in a physical space. I encourage people to write in all caps so everyone is legible, because not everyone's handwriting you can read. But just one thought per sticky. It gets everyone's voice out there. And if someone writes things down and had a moment to do so, then they now have something to talk about. It creates space for them. So that's what I've done as a coach. And also when you're facilitating and someone's like overbearing, is saying like, hold on, like ask like, hey, we're gonna give everyone a chance to speak. There's, which I can add here, I like to use often, is the modern Agile has these kind of working agreements. Is, can we be clear? And asking people, and I found that just like with open space, that people, when you discuss this before we enter this space, this is what we're asking, how people to show up. Can we agree to, most people are going to say, oh, they're not going to say no, that I'm not going to be curious, I'm not going to listen to other people. They're going to say yes, and giving them space to do that and say, hey, well, you know, like what's a safe signal to indicate like when we're not honoring this, and have a way to do that, to safely let people know that when they're not walking in the spirit of these agreements. That's I found that has been respectful for others. We have 10 minutes. Wow. Another thing I've done too, if I see people are often problematic and not giving space, I have had a one-on-one conversation with them to figure out what's going on, because, you know, to get curious, leave a curiosity, say, hey, you know what, this is, you know, like you can go about different ways and saying like, hey, how are you feeling about what's going on? Or to say, I'm noticing this, could you you know, give me some insight, and maybe share like, you know, like, hey, can you try doing this and why? Can you try showing up where other voices are heard? We need a diversity of perspective to help support. Yes, you have amazing ideas and thoughts, but how do we move together? It's important for us to co-own these things. And it sounds like you that there's a couple of different things happening. If your teams struggle with co-creation, I definitely have an exercise that I've crafted with someone who was mentioned here today earlier, like Paul Booth. Him and I created, actually in open space, we created a game called Pass on Perfection. It models a yes and thinking with the perfection protocol. It's a mashup of those two. Is to get people to where you add ideas, add on ideas, one thought per like sticky note, on a voice. So now it's not a single person's idea, it's the group's idea. And I could throw that link out there for you too. Is that helpful? Hopefully I wasn't droning on.
This was helpful.
Okay.
It was. Thanks.
And then we talked about the law of personal mobility. And again, as I share with you, I struggle with doing that. Those were the principles. Maybe I put it a different color. These are the principles up here. Yeah, so walking in that. And the law of personal mobility, if someone wants to add it, is simply, you know, if you're not adding value or contributing to value, go to some place where you can. Any other thoughts or insights or support in on tasty cupcakes, which I can share is the pass on the tasty cupcakes. You can find pass on perfection. This is April Jefferson and Paul Booth. And also, if you're looking for other things, I also have a game on. If you go to Game Crafter and you look up Tabby, it's an agile game that talks a lot about the mindset, values, principles, and practices that help support unlocking potential. And this is by me and someone that I paired with in the design thinking community, Real Maxwell. And if you're interested in more open space, which I have a link here that I will have, I'm doing a global open space in September. That it's a 24-hour open space. You don't have to attend all 24 hours. It's to kind of come in and out as you want. And it's bringing multiple thought communities together. We'll have multiple facilitators. It'll look differently than today. Multiple facilitators from all over the world, from different regions facilitating. DT will be one of them, actually. Myself as well. Also other people from Europe and Africa and Spain or different things. We'll all be doing that. It'll be very exciting, and we're talking about exploring our potential for disruption. Any other thoughts? I know we have 4 minutes left.
Can you share the link for that open global open space?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'll do that real quick. I know I have it like in a message somewhere.
And do we have any recommended duration for an open space? Let's say for a 2-week sprint. Is there any time limit or duration?
Oh, if you're using open space to manage your sprint. Well, that's a great question. No, I don't. I'm okay. I've had teams do weekly or not do sprinting at all. I don't think it matters personally.
Okay.
What did I do with my link? I'm trying to hurry up and grab it, and I think I lost it. Okay. And I'll put it on the Jamboard too. Okay. And you may want to know what this is, right? This is a 24-hour global, well, it's on the future of work. Future of work, 24-hour global gathering. And what's unique about this, there is a suggested price, but you can pay what you can, because we understand with a global conference that the like $50 US is not the same in other places. So it's just kind of what you can. Okay.
So we have
Any
less
other
than 2 minutes here. Just a reminder.
thing? Any other thoughts?
This was great. Thank you, April, for enlightening us on open spaces. I hope it's okay if I take the screenshot and post it on LinkedIn of this Jamboard.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And the only thing I think I forgot to mention, we didn't cover yet, is that there are also 4 elements of open space, and we didn't get to those. And with the elements of open space, there's breath, which is about, what you'll notice is that what I describe in breath is that you'll see people speak slow in a physical space, that they're maybe moving a lot slower, is that with breath, that gives you space for innovation and learning. And when you take that, when you add breath in your life, that white space, because oftentimes right now we're slowing down to take time to learn, and that's positive, because we're going a million miles an hour, in our daily lives, right? Adding breath in our life is needed. Um, there's also the circle, and that's very important. If we were in a physical space, you will see us, oftentimes we just naturally gravitate and form a circle, and how we gather, it builds connection. And today our circle is virtual. There is the